I opened a letter that wasn't meant for me. I never planned to open someone else's letter. It wasn't curiosity at first. It was just habit. Every evening after work, I checked the mailbox outside my apartment building. It was an old metal box with tiny doors that barely closed properly. Half the time, letters were shoved into the wrong slots. It happened so often that most of us barely noticed anymore. That evening was cold and windy. The hallway smelled like someone had burnt toast again, and the lights flickered like they always did. I opened my mailbox and found 3 things: a grocery flyer, a utility bill, and a plain white envelope. The envelope had my apartment number written on it, but the name was different. It said, Daniel Carter. I stared at it for a second. I had lived in apartment 3B for almost 2 years, and I'd never heard that name before. People moved in and out all the time, but usually mail stopped coming after a few months. This one looked different. No company logo, no return address, just a slightly crooked stamp and handwriting that looked careful, almost nervous. I should have just put it back in the mailbox, but I didn't. Instead, I took it upstairs. My apartment was quiet except for the humming refrigerator. I tossed my keys on the table, dropped my bag on the couch, and sat down with the envelope in my hands. I told myself I was only checking the sender, just to make sure it wasn't important, just to see where it came from. The paper felt thicker than normal envelopes, almost like someone had folded several pages inside. I hesitated. Then I opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. The handwriting was the same as on the envelope. Careful, slightly shaky. It started like this. Daniel, if you're reading this, it means you finally checked the mail. I frowned. That was strange enough already. But then I kept reading. I know you said you didn't want to hear from me again, but I had to try one more time. I need you to listen carefully. Something is wrong. I leaned back in my chair. Now I felt like I had stepped into something I wasn't supposed to see, but it was too late to stop. Do you remember the storage locker we rented last year, the one near the highway? You told me to forget about it, but I went back, and what I found there, it wasn't ours. My stomach tightened. The letter continued. Someone else has been using the locker. Not recently, for a long time. There were boxes inside when I opened it, locked metal cases, and one of them had your name on it. I read that line 3 times. Your name on it? The next sentence was underlined. Daniel, I think someone is trying to frame you. I laughed quietly, not because it was funny, because it felt unreal, like reading the plot of a bad crime movie. But the letter wasn't finished. I didn't call the police because I'm not sure who to trust anymore. 2 days ago, a man came to my apartment asking about you. He said he was a detective, but when I asked which department he worked for, he didn't answer. I felt a strange chill in the room. Outside, a car passed by slowly, headlights sliding across my living room wall. I kept reading. He knew about the locker. He knew about the key, and he knew that I was the last person who had seen you. My eyes moved faster now. Daniel, if you're still in apartment 3B, you need to leave. My breath stopped for a moment. Apartment 3B? That was my apartment. I checked the envelope again. It definitely said Daniel Carter, but the number was correct. 3B. My apartment. The letter continued. I think they're watching the building. I noticed the same dark car parked outside 3 nights in a row. I'm sending this letter instead of calling because I don't know who might be listening. I suddenly felt aware of every sound in my apartment. The fridge humming, the heater clicking, someone walking in the hallway outside. My heart started beating faster. I forced myself to keep reading. If you get this letter, go to the locker before anyone else does. The key should still be where you hid it, behind the loose brick near the parking lot entrance. My mind raced. Loose brick? Parking lot entrance? I had seen something like that downstairs before, but I'd never touched it. The last lines of the letter were written darker, like the writer had pressed harder on the pen. If the boxes are still there, don't open them. Just take the photograph inside the small envelope. That's the only thing that proves you didn't do it. I felt a knot forming in my chest. The final sentence was short. And Daniel, if someone else reads this before you do, I'm sorry. I slowly lowered the paper. For a long moment, I just sat there staring at the table. My brain kept repeating one thought. Someone else reads this before you do. Someone like me. I stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the parking lot looked normal. A few cars, dim streetlights, nothing unusual. But then, I noticed something. A dark sedan parked across the street. The engine wasn't running, but someone was sitting inside. I couldn't see their face. Just a shadow behind the windshield, watching the building. My throat felt dry. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was just a neighbor. Maybe I was imagining things because of the letter. I stepped back from the window. My eyes moved to the envelope again. Daniel Carter, apartment 3B. Someone used to live here before me. Someone connected to a storage locker, someone who might be in serious trouble. And now I had opened the letter meant for him, which meant one thing. If anyone was watching apartment 3B, they probably thought I was Daniel. I laughed again quietly, but it felt nervous this time. This was ridiculous. I should just forget the letter, throw it away, pretend I never saw it. But then another thought appeared. What if the letter was real? What if someone really was trying to frame him? What if the locker existed? And what if the photograph inside could prove everything? I looked at the clock on the wall. 8:47 p.m. Not too late. The storage place near the highway was only 15 minutes away. I grabbed my jacket. Halfway to the door, I stopped. This was insane. I didn't even know Daniel Carter. I had nothing to do with this. But then I remembered the car outside, the man in the driver's seat, watching, waiting, maybe for someone to leave apartment 3B. I slowly turned the doorknob. The hallway outside was empty, quiet. I stepped out and locked the door behind me. As I walked down the stairs, the letter felt heavy in my pocket. Every step echoed through the stairwell. When I reached the entrance, I hesitated. Through the glass door, I could see the street and the dark sedan, still there, still facing the building, still waiting. I took a deep breath. Then I pushed the door open and stepped outside. The cold air hit my face immediately. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the sedan's headlights turned on. My heart skipped. The engine started. And slowly, the car began to move, following me. I reached into my pocket and felt the folded letter again. Maybe opening it had been a mistake. Or maybe it had just pulled me into someone else's story, one that I wasn't supposed to be part of. But now, it was too late. Because somewhere out there was a storage locker, a hidden key, and a photograph that could prove someone's innocence or expose something far worse. And the people in that car clearly believed one thing, that I was Daniel Carter. And tonight, I was going to find out why.